right, here we are.
Hey. All right, so my name is Joshua Gottinker, and I'm living here in Tamara since 2013, January. And I come from a background, mostly academic background, before I came to Tamara. There I have a master's degree in plant biology, and I was working on a PhD in educational technology. And I didn't finish this PhD degree because at some point I realized these three letters after my name are not that important to me. And I don't want to live this academic life. I want to live a life in community. And so this was a kind of transition point for me. When I came to Tamara, I came as a specialist because I had a lot of skills in like the basics of ecology, and especially in IT with 3D modeling. And I learned while I was here how to make maps because it was a need of the community, and I love to learn new technology.
So basically, I'm doing a research. Well, first of all, I want to learn and explore the eco-village world and the communities. And then secondly, I want to show it to people and be in service for the collective, basically. Because I feel that the eco-village movement and the intentional communities that are out there have a really big potential to make a positive change in this world. And so I feel like giving my life force to this movement. And so that's my main intention. And then when I look at academia, there's this thing that 90% of all the ecological projects, communities tend to fail or not persist and not even thrive. And as we're here in Tamara, which is an example that it can work, I don't know the state for now, and I'm willing to hear everything, but it is an example that it can work because it lasted already over 30 years, right? So, and then my research question that I'm trying to find out is like, what are the pillars of a thriving eco-village? Now we know from Jen the different dimensions, the ecological, the economic, cultural, social, even worldview and spirituality. And in this case, I always give space for you, basically, to find out what resonates for you and to share about this. And I also like to see like the shadow and the light, so that we have a objective view on community also. Because sometimes I was also idealizing a bit, So it's good to also see everything in community, not just the roses.
Yeah, sure. Great. Yeah. Nice. Sounds like a great journey you're on.
Exactly.
I mean, when I first came to Tamara, I also was with this question, will I start something or will I join something? Like, for sure it's important, and I was also coming out of a kind of time where I knew that eco-villages existed, but I had this kind of judgment like, these people, they make a bubble somewhere out in the countryside, and like if they're not really connected to the system that's driving the bus of the earth, like I don't see it having a real impact.
Like the escapism kind of.
Yeah, this was my concern. This was my judgment somehow, and but then when I came to Tamara, there was something about the courage to address complexity and to create bridges into society where the power of community can become visible and also like have an impact back into this other world. And so I started to gain hope and gain enough curiosity to come here. At first just for like some month, for a course, and then for some months extending, and then for the rest of the year extending. Then
now for the rest of the life.
Yeah, I went back in between to Scandinavia where I was living for a couple of years, and I was really close to buying land with a friend and starting something. And then we came here together to check things out and see where we were, like on some of these core issues. And I was just like, no way, we can't. It wasn't that we were so incoherent, but it was just this feeling of being so inexperienced. It was like, we can't try to start something until I really live in something established where like, of course, when you start something, you're going to repeat most of the same mistakes at least 10 times, but like better 10 than 30. That was kind of my feeling, you know, like at least I can gather a bit of substance and a bit of,
Experience.
grounded experience. Yeah, you know, like experience. Yeah, exactly. So,
Wow.
and I mean, what came to me when you were speaking with your intro was like these. What are the pillars? Like, how did Tamara manage to really survive? It's a really simple sentence. Like, we give a huge focus on being a human amongst humans. And so like I came as a quite skilled specialist, like good on the computer and like knowledge with biology and knowledge with computers and like at first it was like, yeah, yes, that's great, we need some help with that, let's do some projects. But then at some point it was like, take a break and just run the kitchen, you know, like learn how to cook for a lot of people and be in a different mode of operations so that you can feel what it's like to be a human amongst humans and to be appreciated for that, not for what you can do or what you do or what you take care of. And that experience as a kind of specialist, it was even called that back then, like a certain class of visitors who were specialists. This human knowledge that also the specialists need to not be specialists sometimes. That was really important for me. Really,
Sounds very humbling.
It's really humbling, really, because you know, it's so identified with like being good at all this stuff and knowing all this stuff and like yeah, I can do that. I can fix your website and like yeah.
Yeah, and we probably also value ourselves a lot. Like
Yeah,
we find value in being that specialist, and then probably like going back to being regular in some way. It's very humbling, but also then probably very connecting to others also.
Yeah, I think so. Nurturing also in a certain way. Yeah, connecting and nurturing and
Wow.
yeah, and a bit destabilizing because there is that part of the specialist that is really identified with that. Like that's, you know, the persona is also built around that, being the knowledgeable one, being the expert one. And then to be able to step out of that or step aside from that and just
Wow.
yeah, be who I am, and here at Tamara, be allowed to be a horny guy amongst beautiful women, and like, you know, like, and not be judged for it, but be encouraged and be supported, and yeah, it's a trip.
Yeah, very grateful also now to do an interview with men, because like I did 3 interviews and actually they tend all to be women. So I'm very grateful also to have this moment now and to see also the perspective a bit from men. Yes. And actually it was, I mean, Tamara is known for free love and all of it. And my main focus wasn't that, but in every interview it kind of crystallized out of it that it's a very central theme and central point of Tamara. Yeah, and there also, I don't know if you want to share more about that or in which direction you want to go. Like for me, it's really free flow. But if you want to share some experience of your free love and
yeah, I can try. I don't know. It's like it's hard to get into the right zone of story. But when I lived in Scandinavia, I was anyway connected with the kind of principle of free love. Like I was together with a German woman for some years, and before we got together, she told me, you know, the only kind of honest relationship is an open relationship. And it doesn't mean that you have to go bouncing around or even flirting around, but that in the essence of the relationship, openness is there. That means that you can share what you want or what you see and what you long for, and you can ask to go for it. And so this was such a mind-bending sentence when she said it to me. Like, it was so, of course I was so conditioned with monogamy and linearity and looking for the one and all of this, and then when she said that whole story, you know, the whole package is, it's not possible to be honest in that package. And I tried so hard to get around it in my mind, like in my reflection, like, no, come on, that can't be true. She can't be right. Like, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't find an angle where this simple sentence was not true. Especially if it does, you know, we're not saying like you have to do something about it, but the openness, right? Like if the rules are so strict that you can't be open, then how can I be authentic? How, you know, I can't even check really authentically. What is it? Where am I? What is it that I want? What is it that I love? Wow, that was mind-bending. So
that was even before Tamara?
Long before Tamara.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. And then I was like trying to figure out how to live a lifestyle, even after I broke up with this woman, trying to figure out how to live a lifestyle that lives up to that truth. And, you know, then there's the polyamory scene, and which was kind of, I don't know, like young in Copenhagen where I lived, but at least present. So like there were people to talk to, people to check in about these issues, but all on what felt like a rather new or superficial level. And then coming to Tamara and feeling this like, whoa, they've been working on this like collectively at that time for basically from when I was 1 year old. Right, the project. I was born in '77. Project started in '78 in Germany. It's like so. Then I walk into this, and you just feel the maturity. It's like, okay, and I just felt like such a like, I don't know, clueless teenager trying to figure this other stuff out, and like, wow, yeah,
wow. And how did it, like if you look at your evolution, can you maybe also say since when you're here, and then as we are in this now, like your own evolution in maturity in that regard of free love and maybe openness, and can you see a big shift and change since you're here?
Yeah, phases, big phases. I mean, like, I think like maybe, I don't know, I was going to say most of the men, but probably most of the people, actually, when you arrive here, if you decide you want to try it out and find out what is Tamara about, then there's a kind of kid in the candy shop phenomenon that happens, right? It's just like suddenly, wow, it's allowed. And then like you really can just look and say, okay, what am I attracted to, and what is this about? And I was never super active in that. There was always a lot of people around me that were much more hunting more and inviting more, but this feeling of freedom to look for resonance and also look across different age profiles and body type profiles, and, you know, like it's just stepping out of all of the kind of norms and into, okay, there's humans here, and many of us are horny humans, and how does, you know, like, where is the real resonance? Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I mean I also most of my life here was like through daring to dive into intimacy, and from the intimacy exploring sexuality. It seems like a lot of people took another track where it was like bouncing into bed with different people, and then from there like finding where intimacy emerged. And that wasn't the natural path for me. Like I didn't have this kind of, I don't know how to say it, like wide open, bouncing.
Like the playing around, maybe also kind of playing around, and
or in a way like more on the dance floor than in the bed. You know, like that was like I would be happy to be a dolphin on the dance floor and dancing and kissing with lots of women in the same evening, and that was already such a feeling of freedom. You know, like That nobody is also the intimate one was not busy or annoyed that I was kissing around on the dance floor, even if they're there in the space, and like this, wow, this,
All right.
you know, like this feeling, just like, okay, like it's just a different universe of freedom.
All right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, there's somehow a question in my mind, but somehow also it's a bit like, oh, shall I ask it or not? Because it's kind of this like question, okay, what was your maybe most exciting or eye-opening experience in sexuality? And maybe it's a bit too intimate question, but if you feel like sharing one.
I mean, I think the most kind of provocative situation I was in was not me being sexual, but was hearing my most intimate beloved being sexual with someone else. We had a kind of event where a group of us that had kind of entered together, like the joiners group, we went to another place off campus where we were all together in quite small places. There was like a couple of sleeping areas, a sauna, and like I was in the sauna and I came out of the sauna and sat down in the kitchen, and then I heard two people together and I recognized the woman's sounds, like, you know, like unquestionable.
Yeah.
And this was such a trip, like just sitting down and like breathing into the moment, right? Like, and feeling okay, like the first thing is like a pure energy, like there's a pure it's just rising, like widening in my system, and then feeling like there's this risk, like if I interpret this in the wrong way, then I get pissed and jealous and sad and scared and all of this, right? Like it was almost like a side door over here. You know, that's kind of also a tempting side door, right? Like, and I'm just like, no, wait a minute, like, what is that? And then really listening to the sounds and like to hear this, like the beauty in her pleasure.
Wow.
You know, like, and like this decision, like, no, I don't go down this door, but I choose the beauty of this moment. I choose also the how to say that, like,
presence, maybe. Maybe just presence.
Yeah,
also
the presence, but also like I know her like this, something like that. You know, like I enjoy her lust so much, and why shouldn't someone else? You know, like why should that belong to me? Why, you know, like this whole things that were through this door, like all of the fuel.
Yeah.
it somehow it like in this moment it could just kind of crumble or something.
Wow. So we really managed to let all the fear, jealousy, and like kind of go and wow.
And I mean, I think I'm not the most jealous guy anyway. Like it's not really my pattern. Like, and I have a strong commitment to somehow honor the freedom of every human that I meet. Like this is a certain like, integrity. Of course, it's not always easy, but to know my decisions matter, right? Like, and my decision there of either binding her to me and getting, or like setting that beauty free, that was a real decision.
Wow.
And, I love that moment. I'm really,
wow.
I'm really
That's
proud
really
of that moment.
like yeah. For real. Wow. This is very impressive. That's really, really juicy to hear. Also, this very moment, like.
This is like, you know, like the graduation moment of the joiners group, right? For me, somehow it's like, okay.
So that was in the beginning time of the medal.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was here for most of 2009, away for a couple of years. That was probably after being here for 1 year and a half or 1 year and a couple of months.
Okay.
It would have been in 2014, something like this.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing.
Sure.
I mean, this is already very valuable, I think, for many people to hear this. Because probably there are so many questions also around this free love and how to do it. And even I was like, considering it, I did some experiences in polyamory, and mostly I got hurt, so it didn't really feel like a safe thing to do for me. And then at some point I thought, okay, if I want to do it properly, then first learn from it also, you know. So I think people like me in that state, say 2 years ago, would be really happy to hear this. And then of course, gotta experience it ourselves somehow, I think.
I mean, I think the starting point is to feel that there is another possibility, right? Like there is,
exactly.
And it's not that this was gone. It's not that this temptation of drama was gone, but I could. And then when I walked out of there, I was so charged up and really like. It was also beautiful. I could land in the arms of another lover and also say what happened, and this was also really, really sweet. But I remember there being with her. It took a while to calm down.
Okay.
Like it's just so much energy, like intense moment.
And afterwards, like, were you still then like, because you said that was your like the intimate partner.
Yeah, and you know, like she had been going with this guy for months already. It wasn't like the first time. It was just the first time that I was
witnessing
6 meters away.
Okay.
With no wall. They were like up on a little loft with the, you know, like, so.
All right, and how is it now for you? Like, are you now in a...
I mean, now I have a kid. I have a 6-year-old, and I think probably right after that experience, within a couple of months, I would have met the eventual mother of my child. We were together for 5 years before Kieran came, and then now we've been together for 6 years with him. And somehow we are often informally monogamous. Like neither of us are very active these days, but we're also both open and curious. And once in a while, some resonance happens, and we go to bed with someone else.
Okay. And how do you do that? Like you just communicate about it openly, or is it already such a trusted base that you both have?
We have from the beginning we had a weird thing. It took us even a while to discover what is our agreement about this stuff.
About your relationship.
Yeah, like at some point we I guess 2-3 years into it we took a step back and said, what are our agreements? Like I think it was because we were in a community time with this question, what are your pacts? These like unspoken, unwritten binding agreements that you have with people. And most of us have that, whether it's with our friends or our lovers or whatever. And we were trying to figure out, okay, how do we describe it? And it's basically do what the fuck you want and share what the fuck you want. And this was like, we couldn't describe it better than that.
So you can do and then share, or is it
not
first sharing and then...
No, do and don't share, do and share half, do like whatever.
Okay.
And it was really cool to discover this, that we both agreed on it, and that it was like, but it was already there. It wasn't like the thing that we decided, okay, now we're going to do it because this is a good way to do it.
Wow. So it was just there from the beginning on.
Yeah. And I mean, she was at that time like a very the youngest, but like very active member of the Love School, which was quite a more active entity in Tamara at that time. Like there were many more events, and she was helping to organize the events and also organize the calendar of some of the more mature women who were kind of leading this Love School. Mm-hmm. So it was also, for me, very clear from the beginning that she had a quite complex love network and was very open and active in. So I never had any illusions that she would be all for me, like at all. So that also, I think, it helped quite a bit.
Okay, it was very clear.
It was super clear from the beginning. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all of it.
Sure.
I just had in my mind that maybe for the maps we do another video. Mm-hmm. But before we do that, maybe just like, is there anything else to what we just communicated about that you want to share? Is there anything, because we went from your experience, you arrived here in 2009, then you had this experience where you actually saw or heard somebody being with your intimate partner. and then to your now partner and your kids, and also all of it, and how you actually have this clear fundament of you do whatever you want and you share whatever you want. Is there anything that you want to add to that, or like to conclude it maybe?
Yeah. What comes to me now is the the principle and the state of our field of free love and free sexuality.
Intermera now, as a collective.
Yeah. Because like when I came in 2009, Dieter Doom was just getting sick. Okay, so like his power was like half power from what most of the people who were attracted to the project knew. And they told stories about like the way that he could lead a space about free sexuality that just brought authenticity and contact like so intensely into the center. And I never experienced that. He was like, I never really was with him in his power.
Wow.
But I could feel like the after effects of that intensity, of his skill, of his gift, his talent, whatever.
Wow.
Because the field here was strong. Like you like I talked before a little bit, you
shivers.
could, right? Like you can feel the permission. You can feel okay, it's a candy shop here. It's different, and it's also mature and held, right? So like there's this balance, and there's one mature guy who's still here now, who he said one time in an interview, like, you know, it used to be you walk through the street in Tamara, and every second woman that you walk past, they give you a very clear signal that you're allowed. It doesn't mean that they want something from you, or you should, or just like, I see you're erotic being and you're allowed.
Wow.
And like that was it. And that also I never really experienced to that intensity, but it was still there a bit. It was still, you know. I remember one talk with one of the women who had been here for longer. I thought we were just talking about whatever, solar village or technology, and I want you to know I'm also interested in you as a man. And I was like, this was like really early. I was like, I had no idea where to go with that.
All right. Yeah.
And now I think over the years, I don't want to blame it on Daylan and his health, but like the field has changed a lot. There's been a lot more separation into couples and mini families and mini constellations, and this really wide open field that also includes community members and guests, and like much more natural contact there. This is really fading. There's a much bigger separation at the moment, which I think is a really unhealthy one between community members and guests, and among us also. Like maybe it's a natural evolution of aging and phases or something, but it feels for me like we're not on it. We're not in that intensity that formed this project, that gathered this project together. That's part of what's thinning out.
Yeah, that's something that I heard also. I mean, I was traveling here in the south a bit, and I know from people that have been here and also explored a bit this eco-village world, and they often say like, yeah, when the charismatic leader is fading or going or dying, then it's really difficult for the project to survive somehow. I think it's a pretty also known thing, because when there's this charismatic leader that leads everything, right, there's a void. So how can you fill that void? That's the question, then, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and we're trying to prepare for that. We're trying to create like different structures on the decision-making level, but on this level of staying tuned in to a shared vision, right? Like this charismatic leader has a certain power there,
yeah,
right? Like, because everybody can listen to one voice and then resonate, and it creates this, yeah, and it's risky times.
Do you believe that Tamera will persist?
Yeah, I believe that Tamera will persist. I can't say that we're thriving now. I guess that we were close to thriving for some years. But I think that before we manage to thrive, there will be big changes that I don't really understand yet. Like, I think a lot of people will leave. I think there's a lot of people already on the edge of feeling uncomfortable or unsatisfied, or just like not really in it wholeheartedly anymore, and not really sure what it would even mean or look like to be in it wholeheartedly anymore, because we don't have this guiding star. But I think like what I feel like when I also get kind of calm down and look from the top of the hill, it feels like many people will go. Our permission to build will come through. And then like a huge volcano of creativity will be unleashed, because there's there's so much tightness, tension, that we're this huge project with huge aspirations and big visions, and then we're stuck, each of us living in caravans, and like we can't really design and build a communitarian vessel. And
wow, again I have shivers over my skin. Wow, yeah, thank you for sharing this. Like, wow, very interesting to also hear your, well, it sounds like your vision basically, or what you see, what will happen.
It's almost a prophecy.
Yeah.
But I mean also, like to also say it a bit crass, like we have a stop on joiners now because we didn't know what to do about infrastructure, even though now a lot of people did already leave, and we could probably afford infrastructure-wise maybe a new group of 10 joiners or something like this. There's too much tightness around it still, and I'm hoping that we're going to get a decision to really open the doors and really like make invitations for people who want to come and spend some time here. That doesn't mean committing to stay to the end of life, but I hope that, because I feel like we really need it.
Okay.
Like we need freshness, we need new curiosity, we need new minds, and completely we need to say it crassly, we need crazy motherfuckers like you. We need like this, like just people who are not gonna take this old story, but for granted, but to say, this is clever, and we need to whoosh, move in this way with that.
Well, thank you for seeing me as a possible crazy motherfucker joining. Thank you.
So this was not my background. I had never used the GIS program before, but over the years we needed that, so I learned it. And this here is the first big format map that I basically produced everything. Like also you see this outline here this is Google Map, and this is drone photography that I did and processed. So you have, this was in 2020, drone imagery.
It's the map of Tamera, right?
This is the map of Tamera. Tamera is an eagle-shaped land of 150 hectares. And we have a really interesting place in the watershed, because we are at the top of a primary watershed divide. That means it's a totally different river on this side than this side. So all of the water, like we are completely on the side of the Sado River, and very big part of our land has what's called a pure watershed. This is up here on the far south side. Like we have no neighbors. We have no like runoff from neighbor land coming into our property in this area. This is all just purely from us.
Wow.
And then here, this is a little bit of neighbor land.
Okay, just quickly, so
Yeah.
for those who know Tamera, this is the big lake, right?
Yeah, this
So
is
that's,
the
I think it's a good way of seeing where
this
we
is
are
the
located.
guest campus and the guest house, and this is Lake One. And then here is the Valley Garden. And, you know, when we did this water retention work, they started here. They built this dam first, and then they worked their way up the valley, doing more and more retention spaces. And this was mostly before my time. So I came in already to this beautiful full lake and lush landscape. It was amazing work that's being done here in transforming, like starting to reverse desertification. You know, the whole area is really at risk of desertification. There's a lot of very poor practices going on ecologically, and this possibility to really slow the water down, to allow it to spread and sink into the land. This is amazing work that's being done.
Yeah, basically it's kind of preventing the water to go to the sea, right? Because once it's in the sea, it's salt water. So the more you retent here, the more biodiversity can also rise, right? And what I heard again and again from people here is also this thing that, okay, in Tamera now you have a retention landscape, there's a lot of water, it's lush, but to really have an effect, you're trying to have it regionally, right?
Yeah. We managed to be fully 100% autonomous also after 3 years of pretty heavy drought. The well got pretty low, and we had to use a borehole at one point, but still,
Wow.
from our land, 100% water autonomy, even after a lot of drought. But it's true what you say. We need big bands of lush vegetation in order to really change the water cycle. And that's why we're starting to really spread out and find collaboration partners throughout the whole region.
Amazing.
Yeah, you know, I can just say one more little antidote. Like, people want to grow olives where there's good soil, right? So Grandpa dug a little drainage ditch down at the bottom and did the olive grove at the bottom of the valley. But olives aren't happy with wet feet, right? So they had to have this little drainage ditch. These little drainage ditches, you can't touch the sides of them anymore, and they're over your head.
Wow. So they got bigger. Wow.
Right. So, and this is, of course, like, it worked. Like, the olives are happy because there's good soil in the valley, right? But nobody saw this as a side effect, and nobody understands that those huge gullies in the water lines are constantly draining the land.
Wow.
So the whole summer long, when it's really hot, like, that's just big surface that should be sealed and covered with all kinds of riparian forest. It's just losing water the whole summer long.
Wow.
So these kind of things we need to also get, like, kind of reach a hand to Grandpa and say, look, like, it's great, the olives were happy, and we made a lot of amazing oil over the years, but we need to change this. Like, they don't belong here.
Yeah. Okay, so we need to connect with neighbors.
Yeah.
Right.
And then now we can zoom out a little bit. You can see there's this circle, and this circle is now here. So Tamera is in the center, and here you have the couple hundred hectares above Tamera, and all of this, any surface runoff from here runs through the neck of the eagle.
All right. So this is Tamera, and this is where all the water flows in.
Yeah,
right?
So these are like the neighbors that have a direct influence on us. You know, what they do on their land influences the lower part of our land.
Wow.
This part is still a pure watershed, like, where we have no influence. But down here, like, so here we are in the process of making watershed community.
Okay.
And then what's really interesting, if we step out one more.
So we're going from small scale to bigger, right?
Yeah. Now we zoom out a little bit more. This is what's called a tertiary basin, and the ribera here is Ribera de Gema, like the gem, and we have kind of carved out the top 2,000 hectares of this as our first primary target for, let's see what percentage we can, of landowners we can get really on board with proper water retention. And it's interesting, there's a lot of foreigners who bought land here already, and many of them already have water retention work on their land. So we have, I would say, about 40% by hectare of this 2,000 hectares are already on board.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah. And but what I would love, I would say, is that we make quick work of this and get this up to 80 or 100%, and start going along this ridge line towards Milfontes, and create really a green corridor. Because part of what's really needed to restore the bigger water cycles is that we don't have so many big dry areas where the water cycle is broken. And so if we can have a really lush green corridor that's high up in the watershed, we're going to be able to have a really big impact.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that requires probably also some political activation, right?
Yeah.
What you're actually also doing. Like Tamara is a very political active project since beginning on.
Yes, yeah, we've been quite active. There's also been a lot of successful actions with like preventing offshore drilling and these kind of things. Also, beautiful aerial actions around water, like aerial photography with lots of people doing formations and honoring the water.
Wow.
So there's been some really interesting stuff over the years. But also we're now getting into more direct political work, and also getting political, but getting EU funding. Like this map I made recently because we had an EU-funded water retention landscape course.
Wow.
First time we got, all the participants were invited. They had to apply, and then they were chosen by residents. But with the many people who would not have had the means to come, but who are very motivated and already very active, doing water work from all around Iberia, they came for this course.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so now we're working on also finding a way to get all of them onto a digital map so that we can see the kind of the scope of influence. Yeah, and there's been many water retention landscapes over the year, courses over the years, and this would be really great to get a kind of expose of who came, what are they doing now, what's the, how is the ripple effect from these water retention courses.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you have like is there a follow-up from that?
Yeah,
course?
yeah. From this course, we already had some follow-up discussions, like video calls, and like find out who's interested, who wants to be on, and then it will be about like going back course by course, and the people who were the facilitators would write an email and reach out and find out what are you up to. But
amazing.
It's young phase, but like we have a great platform to do it, and yeah, maybe once we have something, I can send it to you, and you can also clip in a little
Love to
a little tour.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
All right. So are you like working as a whole team on this project, or did you do the application for the funding, or how does that work?
No, there's big team, much bigger team. I'm really mostly focused on the technical mapping stuff at the moment, and a bit of language review for the applications. Yeah, and there was a team. There was one. Yeah, you don't need the details, but it's a bigger team. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the other thing that the maps are really important for is that we are in a process of applying for building permission in Tamara.
Yeah.
And this needs a lot of detailed documentation.
A lot of mapping. Yeah.
Oh man, and it's also just really a lot of bureaucratic demands in a way, like that they need very specific things and very and a lot of it. These are some of them, like the zoning of what type of vegetation is in each place. How is that going to change if you build more, if you settle more, like all this like
all the
things.
details to see how committed you are.
Yes, and to respect. We have a I don't know if any of these have it. Here is actually a hand drawn. There is a nature reserve. Like everything from here to the coast is a Natura 2000 nature reserve.
Oh yeah.
And so that impacts like how much more paperwork you need to do if you want to do something in that zone. And the interesting thing is, of course, originally it was just like lines drawn on paper maps when they made this thing, and that the thickness of that line could be anywhere from here to here, which is really significant for us. That's like 20 hectares of land that is either in or out.
Wow.
And the most up-to-date line is more or less along this road. Like so, everything on the campus and the place of the children is
which is a big part of Tamera.
Which is a lot of Tamera. So either we have to find a way to legalize that with a lot of extra paperwork, or we have to move it. Is what it looks like, and it's all still in question.
All right. Yeah. Joshua.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.